Welcome to Do the Talk podcast. This is another day. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ibrahim, of course, and Ahmed is here with me. Today we are excited. We are here to talk about how you can invest. We've always talked about how you can invest in real estate. We have a great topic today, and Ahmed will start us on that. So sit tight. Please watch this video to the end. Ahmed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ibrahim. It's always a pleasure being on the same couch with my boss like this.
Come on, bro.
The most important thing is you guys at home watching this. We really appreciate you guys. Always tuning in and watching us. And we didn't feel like what we are giving is too much, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
Because you guys have always been supportive. We just want to ask one more time to please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us to reach more people. This is really not about us, but about educating our people, educating our followers to make sure we all take our course of this financial wealth that is out there. Right, so today is pretty much going to be, if you're looking at buying your next investment property, it's going to be more of how to determine how much you should be paying for that property, land, house, whatever it is, right? So real estate wise, how to determine what you should be paying. So, Ibrahim, this is a very straightforward topic.
Yeah.
Even though it looks straight to both of us, it is not straight for a lot of our audience. So, can we start with the basic?
Yeah.
And really, let's speak the language that they understand with this topic, because this is a critical one. It involves money, and when you make mistake in this part, it can, roll down and cause a very bad investment. So how can people really get a property and deep inside them they know they pay the real price, not inflated price or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good one. So thank you for watching us. So today Ahmed just asked me a very interesting question, because we all know that price, it's really what you, the buyer, are willing to pay, and also what the seller is willing to accept. Okay, that's a real philosophy of pricing. Because of course, if the market is bad, recession is here, a house of $1 million can be sold for just $100,000. If nobody's gonna buy it, it's gonna be what it is. Okay,
it's gonna be worthless.
Yes. So let's look at the normal. We are talking about normal life. Everything is going well. The way the economy is right now, even though we just run out of COVID, everything, we are still in a good shape. And we're all grateful for that. So today, I'm going to be talking about how you can identify a good deal, or to determine how much you can pay for a house. So we, as a real estate broker, we rely on comps. What is comps? Comps is like a data that shows us what has been sold for a particular, for amount in a particular neighborhood or in a, subdivision. Okay. So if you are looking to buy a house of 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and let's say the neighborhood is, Main Street neighborhood, as a real estate broker, you have to first of all go to Main Street neighborhood and see what has been sold in that area. So comps really is like getting all the data in that area for the last 3 months. See what has been sold. If you go 3 months, you couldn't find enough, you can extend it to 6 months. Okay, and this is how the appraiser also, it's a big factor in determining what the price will be when they come in, like the formal, appraisers. That's what they do. So long story short, we look at all those sales in that area, and we'll look at the specific, upgrade or like uniqueness in that property as well, to see what that actual property will appraise for. So let's say we gather all the data and we are seeing that it's all 300s from like 250 to 300,000 in that neighborhood, and the house that you are looking for, you are eyeing, is is the same thing keep in mind it has to be apple for apple. Make sure it is the same kind of, it doesn't have to be the same color, the same exact shape, but it has to be in the same category. You know what I mean by that? For example, a house is duplex
Yeah.
is different from a single
The
family that
family,
is standing.
yes.
If a house is two-level house, it's different from a bungalow, flat.
Yeah.
So if you can put that into consideration, it will help you a lot to identify how much you have to pay. Now, as you, the investor or the buyer, you might not have access to the comps, to the MLS. So you have to reach out to someone who has access to that.
Yeah.
But you knowing what they are also looking for
yeah.
helps you to determine what the price will look like.
Yeah.
Because you can ask them, hey, what is the comp in that area?
Yep.
Okay, the person will provide that to you, like, okay, in this area, it has been sold for maybe $300,000 to $350,000.
Yeah.
Now the house you are, planning to buy, if it's anything beyond that, now you need to ask that person. So what is different about this particular house?
Yeah.
The broker should be able to tell you, oh, the reason is because of this and that.
Yeah.
And it has to be something valuable.
Yeah.
I mean valuable in the sense that you cannot pay extra $20,000, $30,000 for a house because they put an accent wall, okay? Or because they put what else that is not really, that it has to be something that will maybe create income or give you the kind of value that you need, not just making the house pretty. Prettiness is nice, but you have to, as a buyer, you have to go for something that really give you value. For example, let's say they've done a new fence, they extend the patio, there's a new EV charger in the house.
Yeah.
There is upgraded bathrooms. Those are valuable stuffs because it will in turn make the house, it will increase the value of the house.
Yeah.
So those kind of upgrade, yes, it might warrant an increase in price. But if it's something that is so personal, okay, they change the paint of the house, okay, now to what? To yellow color, red color, like it's something very personal to that person, then it won't necessarily increase the value of the house because that person has changed it instead of neutralizing it for like make it appealing to everyone. That person, the seller, has changed it to them personal taste.
He or she likes.
Yeah, so at that point, I won't necessarily pay for that paint. So you have to understand that. So when your broker is giving you all those reasons, if it's something that will bring value or add value to that property, in your opinion, based on what you have learned here at Do the Talk, then you can, as well. Still, that doesn't prevent you from negotiating, though. You can still negotiate and say, hey, this is what I think it should be. And like I said from the beginning, a price is determined by how what you are willing to pay, what the seller is willing to take. Now, the market force, it helps balance the pricing. Okay, so as everything is going well, it keeps the price in a good stand. If the economy is collapsing, the price will go down.
Yeah.
So that's how it is in the real estate world. Other things, you look around, you make sure the neighborhood is what you would like it to be, no unnecessary distractions in the neighborhood, like, too much of liquor store, too much of enclosed or very overcrowded apartment close to that property. You just have to look at all the variables, all the things that can potentially lower the value or gradually reduce the value of that house, because you want to buy a house that the value will go up, not going down. So Ahmed, of course there are other factors.
Yeah.
This is a topic that, if you really want to sit down and dive into each one and one item, it will take some time.
A lot of time.
Yeah. But I would like you to give us some other ways, because of course, I'm talking about like someone who is a first-time buyer and investors. There's a way we look at it. It's a little different.
Yeah, it is.
We just don't focus on, oh, the bathroom is pretty. No, we just
No.
don't focus. So there's other ways to look at that. So
Yeah.
how can you explain this, please?
Yeah, so you've done really great job with explaining comps because that is like the most used way of
Yes.
calculating it. But like you said, investors look at all these things differently. Even though we look at comps,
Yeah.
there are other factors that we look at. So, for example, there's one that we call 1% rule.
Yeah.
1% rule is basically if you are buying a house of 100,000, 1% of it, you must be able to rent it for 1% of 100,000, which is 1,000. So if you are buying a house of 100,000, you must be able to rent it for 1,000. If I find a deal like that, I will buy it all day. The reason why is because more than likely, if I don't have over 10% interest rate, that house will cash flow.
Yeah.
So if I don't have a interest rate of 10%, then that house will cash flow. And that is the beginning, right? If you lock in that rate and you can rent that house, let's say you lock in the rate of 6 or 7%,
Awesome. Yeah.
and you are able to rent the house for 1,000 for the beginning. In the next 3 years, you might be able to rent that house for more. In the next 1, 2, 3 years, you might be able to rent that house for more. Now that means your cash flow will keep increasing, and this house is still going to be there for you. So that is why 1% rule is generally used. However, is it applicable in most places? No. So let's take, for instance, you want to buy a house in California, places like Florida, places like that. You might not be able to use 1% rule.
Yeah.
Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Missouri, places like that might work just because they have higher rents and they have all these houses that are not so expensive.
The average.
So the average purchase price there is very, very low compared to all these big cities. So 1% might work in some area, it might not. Another way investor look at approaching the price of a house is using 70% rule. Now, 70% rule is used for a house that you want to buy, you want to rehab or renovate, you want to refinance, then repeat, or you want to flip that house and get out of that deal really quickly. What do I mean by flip is you buy a house, you renovate it, and you sell it to the end buyer, the person that lived there primarily. So those two are the ones that you can use 70% rule for. 70% rule is basically you have a house of 200,000, right? And you multiply that 200,000. This is a value of the house after you finish repairing it.
Yeah.
So the most you can get for that house is 200,000. Now, you want to multiply that by 70%, which is 0.7. So that should give you 140.
140.
And if that gives you 140, then you have to minus how much you are going to put in the house. So let's say you are buying the house and you think the house is going to need 30,000 to bring it back to the value of it,
200.
what's in 200, that 200,000, right? Then you multiply that 200,000 by 70%, then minus 30,000 from it. So 200 multiplied by 70% is going to give you 140.
Yep.
Then you minus 30,000 from it. That is going to give you 110. Then the most you can pay for that house is 110. Yeah. The reason being, if you pay too much, you might not be able to get out at the end of the day, and you might stay hooked. Because even if you want to refinance, most company wants you to to get 70% out of that house.
They want some equity.
Yeah. So if you go above that 70%, you might leave some money in that deal, which is not a bad idea. But as investor, most of us are greedy. We want all the money back, things like that. So that we can move on to the next investment. So that is where 70% comes in. 70% is very, very good for if you can find a deal like that. However, let me point out another thing that applies to 1% and 70%. It still depends on market, right? Now, if you are going to be doing that for a house that is $1 million, then you might go a little bit up to 80% because $1 million now give you more room.
Equity,
if you look at the 20% of $1 million is 200,000, which is a average purchase price in Indiana.
Anyway, yeah.
So it's really big money. So at that point, you might consider like
even 85.
Yes.
It just depends on the room you have.
Yes. So cash on cash is another way of calculating if how much you are paying is a good price or if you are paying too much. Cash on cash is basically how much you are going to realize on this house if you hold on to it for the next 1 year. So basically, how much you realize in a year, 10,000. How much you are paying, you divide how much you are making in a year by 10,000 and multiply it by 100. My comfortable cash on cash is 12%. So if I divide how much I'm making in a year, divided by how much I pay for the house, and I can multiply it by 100 and get anything more than, 12%, I'm good. I'm good. I will do that deal any day. But if it is lower, then I will have to consider some other things in that. How much appreciation am I going to get? Stuff like that. If it still work for me, I will still do it. However, that is how cash on cash is being calculated. So Ibrahim, I just mentioned 1%, 70%, the cash on cash. These are other ways aside from using comps to determine the value that how much how comfortable a deal should go. So with all this listed, is there anything that you feel like you want to add that might be missing at this point?
Well, nothing is missing. I would just like to give my own, observation.
Yeah.
I feel like cash on cash right now is more realistic and it's more achievable, in the sense that, for example, investors that like us that are into middle term leasing, cash on cash, it's easier to kind of accomplish that versus looking into 1% rule or 70%. It's still out there, but it takes a lot of effort, a lot of
to get
looking. Yes, and with cash on cash, it's like you get a house on the deal. If you do the math, it won't work for 1%, it won't work for 70%. But because you have that exit strategy that is so practical and that produce cash flow, and then you'll be able to use that to get the cash on cash, because at the end of the year, what you will realize, as a revenue, it's very profitable when you do that versus how much you are paid or invest into that house. So on my side, and with what I've observed, cash on cash is very good in this age and this season, what we are right now, the current economy. Cash on cash it has been working for me, and that's what I think I'm kind of tilted towards. That's what I've been doing, and that's what I like to do.
Absolutely.
So because it's really working, especially like I said, if you have a business model that is working, that you realize money after you have designed the business. So cash on cash is really good. So except for that, I mean, you have really explained everything, and pretty much there's nothing to add at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you just need to take emotion out of purchasing of property. If you want to do this for a long time, if you want to just buy one or two, you can use emotional because I like the way this house look and use that to buy a house. But if you want to go into real estate full time, you need to take emotion out of the house, and you need to look at multiple deals, not just one, not two, not three. Try and look at a lot of them. You're gonna know that what you see in this is in some other houses as well. So don't get fixated on just one and miss out on being able to negotiate yourself into a good deal. So apart from that, I think we've done justice to this topic. So Ibrahim, if people want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yes, just give me a call, 317-728-0213. Go to ibrealtors.us, and if you are good with social media, IB Realtors on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and I'll be happy to help.
Absolutely.
How can they reach out to you?
So yeah, if you want to reach out to me, the easiest way is social media. Obviously, go to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can go on our website as well. Phone number, email. You can request a free property assessment on there. I will send it to you within 24 hours. We always make sure we send it to you within 24 hours. So go on haziopm.com, haziopm.com, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.